everyone, and welcome to Infinity Nikki News. This is where we talk about what has happened in Infinity Nikki in about the last month. I tend to do these kind of videos once per patch cycle, and I tend to talk about bigger things than the update, mostly what people are unhappy about or what has happened that otherwise would just fall through and not get noticed. We're in one of the better patch cycles with 1.8 right now, so the complaints haven't been so adamant and so forward. There are still things that are, well, not fixed and kind of wrong since 1.5 update that the whole fan base is still unhappy about, but these kind of videos, they're not like entirely negative because the patch was kind of good, and the patch before it was also kind of good. So then, let's talk about both general grumblings in the community and what has happened inside Infinity Nikki in about the past month or so. So first of all, Paper's CEO and founder, Renhall, has resigned from his role, so the company that Infinity Nikki is under no longer has this man as its CEO. The thing is, old CEOs tend to still take on administrator and advisory roles, and this guy still owns the umbrella company that owns this company. So it's not like he is gone from the picture, it's just he is gone from the immediate team concerned with love and deep space and Infinity Nikki effectively. This might mean that we will see some changes, either good or bad, we don't know, in both how they handle updates, what kind of updates come out, how often updates come out, monetization practices, what they do and don't do, and that sort of thing. It can be both a bad and a good thing. We don't know how this impacts the game yet, we just know that it has happened. Moving on, we had a second round of Miraland roundtable, second edition, which is where after 1.5 Unfold was all like, please send us all of your complaints into this very specific email titled a very specific thing. And the one thing that the Miraland Roundtable second edition proved is that the company is not really interested in reading those complaints. The company is interested in talking about what they believe the complaints to be. So there's still outstanding complaints from 1.5 that are still getting sent in surveys, like, please restore the intro because the start of the game doesn't make any friggin' sense now for new players, and that makes it very hard to get our friends to play this game. The dying system is very expensive. It is also very inaccurate because how things look in the preview and how things look in the open world are two separate things. They haven't ever addressed these things, but they have addressed things that they believe what maybe like a person has complained about. Or nobody at all. Like, maybe they invented a person that complained about it. Update the main story already and give us a new map. They have been giving new maps fairly often, and they're saying that the main story will continue in 2.0, and that will come after versions 1.9, 1.10, and 1.11, so around December, which is fair enough. When will we be able to dye individual items? We need it for 5-star pieces. And they're like, yes, it's already in the works. And I'm like, with so many issues that the dye system is having, who even asked this? Who are you answering right now? We hope that future outfit pieces are designed with mix and match in mind. Not one of the main problems, but okay. Will previous 5-star outfits get alternative detail options that could have only been asked like once in passing when they released 1.8, and they have already answered that previously? I believe that yes, alternative outfit options for final evolutions for 5 stars is coming. Could you please group the original glow up and evolved versions of all outfits together? The wardrobe is starting to feel a little bit cluttered. I do believe that this was a real person's question, and their answer is that it's already in progress, but it's once again not like one of the main pieces of feedback that people would have been sending you to that email. You're just ignoring all of that. Will the home feature include a cooking function? We're excited to start cooking, and Nikki's getting hungry too. I am 100% convinced that nobody has uttered this sentence, but it's like when you need to really hype up your new update or your new game, and you're like, people were asking, will there be cars in this game? Yes, let us show you a car. There will be cars. Who are the people? F knows. So effectively, when they're like, we will listen to player feedback and we will address them in this like roundtable conversation, what they mean is we're gonna ignore what actually will get sent to that email, and then we'll release you effectively a promotional working on what we're already working on, which is fine, and then pretend that somebody has asked us about this, which makes this feel a bit more like a conversation rather than like a one-sided thing. One of the worst things about this update that have been coming up quite a lot is that the Infinity Nikki seems to be leaning into using AI now quite heavily, and not only for translation, but for art too. This is a picture from the web event, and let me just give you just a picture on its own. I know that it's kind of zoomed in. We're gonna lose some detail when we zoom in, rather than like have it zoomed out, but it's fine. You can see how this is just like a web event. But for example, this is a fence. It doesn't really go together. There is a post missing here. There's like a little, like an L shape over here. There's like a cross shape in here. It doesn't look like a fence. This looks like a birdhouse that got stuck in the bamboo somehow. So like question mark as to what even this is. The tree is having interruptions here, like somebody has chopped into the branch. There's a lot of things wrong with this picture, but this is like the web promo event that they were using. But that's not like the only place where they did that. Like, for example, this is from inside the game, it is from the news story, and you can see how this ear is unshaded and how the whiskers of the cat are starting from around her eyeball. Like, that line connects directly with her eyeball and not her cheek, so like the angle is wrong. There are a lot of like small mistakes like that. I don't know what is happening with her arms exactly. There are 4 fingers, which would probably make sense for a cat, but she's like holding her hands together, so it's really hard to interpret what is exactly happening with her, but because of such inconsistencies that wouldn't be produced by a human, there is a bit of a fear that Infold is now heavily leaning into AI rather than having human developers do the work. This might be a cost-cutting measure because Infinity Nikki is pulling less and less money month by month. This may mean that they're gonna fire some employees and rely on tools more heavily going forward. But it's also indicative of poor quality and in general not appreciated by the player base. So the primary concern for the game going forth is reduction in quality due to the usage of automated tools replacing people that could provide better translations and, well, better drawings. It hasn't been such a big problem in 1.8 because, as I say, this is a good patch in general, but as a trajectory, this one is quite concerning. I'm not gonna lie. One bit of positive news was that Infinity Nikki has finally actually started gaining a bit of money rather than completely losing it, and it's because patch 1.7 was good and patch 1.8 is good. It dropped to its lowest at 1.6 pretty much after the 1.5 disaster, and now it's raising back up again. So this is just mobile revenue, but they went from about earning $3 million to earning $6 million in a month from just mobile revenue. Now, mind you, the game took likely several hundred million to develop upfront, and considering that the place has 1,000 employees or thereabouts, it is really unclear what is the running cost for this game. If the revenue is not making up the running cost and them using cost-cutting measures like not doing anything outside of English translation by hand and just like using AI art and points kind of makes sense, but it is sad to see. So it is nice to see that we had 2 positive patches. It is nice to see that revenue uptick, and it is sad to see the fall in the quality of the game. This is not to go, oh, silly people who did not pay for this product. No. Fans were rightfully outraged with what the product has become. And when the trust in the company has fallen, so did, people's expenditure. And it is good to see that that money increases only when we have a good patch overall, but it is kind of a sad and a low place considering that this is a woman's game, this is a dress-up game, and this is kind of the one game of its kind. Like, PC open world gacha that utilizes dress-up as its primary mechanic. There isn't anything like this out there. So what this means is that when you're the pioneering product for something, other companies will judge based on how well you do whether or not that area is worth of investment. So if you fall flat on your face, even if the idea in itself wasn't bad, but your execution was, it's kind of a game over for practically any chance of anyone expanding and adding to the genre, because the investors will just say, well, that somebody already tried that, it obviously didn't work out, why would you invest in this? And therefore people might not invest. So on one hand, games quality should be up to par, up to consumers' level, and it is good to see that when company fails, consumers stop paying it. That is what should happen, and that when quality increases, consumers do pay the company more. But it is also sad to see that this disaster, this 1.5 update that the game never really climbed out from, is gonna really have larger consequences than just this game by itself. And it is those consequences that I don't really want to see, and that it frustrates me to know that effectively, because this game has fucked up, that this as a genre is not a viable way to move forward. Because I want Infinity Nikki to have competition, and I want it to be good competition. I want it to be competent competition. And when, small genres, one game, sort of Sims situation again. So good to see that they're sort of digging themselves out of that hole. I hope that they can recover and that they can get into a sustainable way to deliver updates and continue this game with the appropriate quality in mind, without there being significant drops in quality because they have decided to fire their employees and start using AI. That would be the ideal situation, and I hope that that's what we're gonna see. Now, another good thing from this whole update is, remember when there was a bug in Sea of Stars in 1.5, and the game developers have decided that what they're gonna be doing with that bug is that if anyone has received Sea of Stars currency that was bugged, if anyone has gotten any extra currency, they're gonna minus that currency out of accounts, and they put those accounts into significant minus, and everybody said that this is not how you deal with problems. The good news is that they seem to have sort of learned from this, because some people managed to evolve an outfit without crafting a second version of the outfit. So that shouldn't have happened. It was something that was hotfixed fairly fast in the game, but they're dealing with this situation differently now. Accounts that had not yet completed 2 full sets of Lotus Heart before July 29th, but had already completed the evolution, which should be impossible, to Lotus Heart Longing are considered affected accounts. To ensure a better experience for all stylists, if an affected account completes both sets of Lotus Heart before the update on August 14th, no data restoration will be performed for that account. So they have to still make that outfit that they managed to evolve without making it. But they were given like whole over 2 weeks grace period to do this, which is a lot different than how the bug in Sea of Stars has been dealt with. This is a lot more dignified, this is a lot more proper, and it is something that is good to see. It's like it's moving in the right direction. On the other hand, there is a bit of a wobble in community about how they're gonna be monetizing going forward, and one of the wobbles seems to be obscuring the outfits that come out mid-patch. Or at the very least, this is what's being guessed. Because normally when they release 5 stars at the start of the patch, they also release sort of a little like icon preview for 4 stars and like their just like map of what they want to release throughout this update and when things are coming. And this time we didn't get it. There is a chance that something has happened and that there will not be any 4 stars, but I doubt it. What a lot of people are thinking is that as one of the ways to increase the monetization, they will try to keep reducing the information that you can get ahead of time before an update drops, so that you would be more incentivized to spend on what is currently there in the game. And then if an update drops and it is something that you really want, you'll then have to actually fork out money. Infold has never ever commented on there being leaks. This time around, though, Infold's official customer service account on Rednote has commented on one of the posts that shared the leaked images of the 4-star banners. With this, dear stylist, the information you have shared and discussed is not part of the official announcements. We kindly ask you to refrain from further spreading unofficial content. For updates regarding the upcoming 4-star set, please stay tuned to our official announcements. This can indicate that they will want to clamp down on leaks even more, even though this game is very hard to get leaks for to begin with. It's because they never really had an outside tester team, and that is one of the reasons why 1.5 was in such a rough shape, together with being rushed, together with being combined with parts of update that shouldn't have been there. It is one of the things that they're now trying to get, an outside tester team. So QA that is not just employees part of your company that will actually come in and playtest your new content so that it is, not broken on release. It is kind of new for them, but because it was only developers that would get access to that information, leaks, the only kind of leaks that we would ever get would pretty much be people data mining. we wouldn't get anything else. So you would get very vague concepts or furnishings or really, really blurry images, or sometimes there would be like an anonymous description of what a thing may be that just like drops somewhere and people like jump on it. So if they're like cracking down even on that, that's like really authoritarian and entirely unnecessary. It's speculated that they're doing this because, once again, monetization. It's easier to monetize if people don't know what's coming forward. Therefore, they're more inclined to buy what's already there. And if something comes along that they really can't live without, they really, really, really want, they will then, like, you know, fork out real cash in order to get that. So that's a kind of not so good, kind of sad thing, kind of one of those bad things that is overall happening. But in general, the game is not in its 1.5 state, nor is it in 1.6 state. People enjoyed 1.7, people are enjoying 1.8. So these kind of things, they kind of become tiny squibbles of people go, okay, that's not really cool, and it's not really something that you should be doing, Mr. Company. But as long as the content is there and that people are actually like happy about the content, they won't really be very militant about it. It won't really even impact their judgment all that much. They will be like, well, this is not a cool thing, but, you know, it's good. In general, it's good. So we're kind of moving past those hurdles. One of the issue that really is pressing on me is that the company seems to not realize that unless they fix new player experience, people can't really get their friends into this game properly. So even if the game gets better for the already existing fan base, they're gonna struggle to grow that. And considering the exodus of 1.5 and the fact that the game kept on falling in revenue, and now it's like pulling, what, 6 million per month on mobile? I'm pretty sure it started with something like 60 million at 1.0. So this is like, it was a significant slide. Like, it was a big slide. You can't live on that. You need fresh blood. You need new people. And the one thing that you screwed up with 1.5 was your tutorial, because now the story is disjointed and slightly incomprehensible. And people have said that what seems to have happened is that after the original tutorial, they would see a lot of drop off of players. So like players would play through the tutorial, but not the rest of the game, which honestly kind of sounds normal, like somebody trying out a game and then deciding that it's not for them. But they have taken this as to mean that if the drop off is happening at the tutorial, something is wrong with it. So they have reworked it multiple times. But the one that they arrived at currently, honestly, you can't even invite your friends to play with that because they'll have no idea what's going on. The story is disjointed. So if those were showing a drop off, I wonder what kind of retention this one is showing, because I don't believe that it is good. So this is, I know that we're sort of clambering back up from 1.5, but this, to me, this stands out as something that they really, really, really need to fix. And I imagine if you want to make a big bang, if you want to attract attention to yourself as a gacha again, you will likely be doing these kind of like big alterations at 2.0 probably. So I hope that they know this, and I kind of expect them to be smart about it, and I kind of expect this to be coming. So I suppose we're gonna see how that whole situation pans out at about, what, December this year, which seems about, right. And we're just gonna write this off as Infinity Nikki having had a wobbly year. Overall, I mean, I am still a retained player, and this month I even paid them money. And you could see that in my 1.8 playthrough. So it's not a product that I hate, and I do believe that it is a product that is in a much, much better state than where it was at 1.5. So this, don't take this me as being overly negative. This is just me informing you on what kind of squibbles, what kind of issues the whole community is having, and you can decide what is actually an issue and what is a non-issue. Like, some people go, oh, the community, it complains way too much. This is like way too much complaining, and you don't need to have like as many opinions as you have in community, and that people are taking this way too far. But I'd rather there was complaints than there weren't. I rather people were engaged than they weren't. I rather we do recognize this as an imperfect product that could use some changes, whether those changes is in how developers treat the player base, or whether these are the changes of how things are run and how updates are produced. So I rather that people do express feedback, negative feedback included, rather than not express it at all. And while this kind of video would seem very dark because it has a lot of things that are not nice and not happy, at the same time, do know that this was a good update, and this is just tiny whispers. They're not shouts. This is not like an angry mob with pitchforks. This is like tiny whispers flowing around the community of like, a little bit of that is wrong and a little bit of that is wrong, and that is an interesting development. We're gonna see how it pans out, and that's what these kind of videos are all about. So, tell me about your opinion. Do you think that the community is like overreacting, making things into an issue where there isn't an issue? Do you think that they're being kind of reasonable? The thing that really stands out to me the most is the thing that I put in the title of the video, which is the fact that we have AI art in the game. I'd rather we didn't. I I don't think that AI art belongs in this game the same way that I don't think that AI translation belongs in this game. Infold being kind of upset that their leaks are just kind of sort of thing for me, and I'm happy that they're better at addressing bugs now and how they treat the population in regards to all of that. Like, it feels like outside of those use of AI, which will honestly really impact the quality of the game, it kind of feels like we're on our way back up, and that's overall the direction that I want to see the game going in. So I suppose we're gonna see how this goes. For now, though, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for my Patreon supporters that allow me to play and experience games in whichever ways that I want, including giving $5 to Infinity Nikki here and there. It is funny because I'm not like even pulling on the current banners really. I'm allowing my account to just like pile up and save that. So it's not like I'm even using what I'm getting this patch. It's just that it was a good patch. And I hope that we're gonna have a lot of good patches in the future, and that the complaints remain tiny whispers in the wind and not just bands and bands of people with pitchforks, because that would overall tell us that the game is going in the right direction, that the game is healthy, and that the population in general is happy with it. So then, thank you for watching. I hope I'm gonna see you in my other videos. I once again produce the updates on whatever Infinity Nikki community is speaking about, like once a month or so, like once a patch cycle. I allow these kind of things to accumulate. That having said, I will see you in some other video. Toodaloo for now.